Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to Friday Wine and Design at 4:30 p.m. or just after. Thank you guys for jumping on if you're here today. We didn't get together last week. I was in Melbourne, so I had a really fabulous conference on. But I am really pleased to be here with you today. A little bit about me, if you don't know who I am, I'm interior designer Adam Scougall. I create beautifully unique homes for people that are staying put. If you would like to connect with me at any time about a project that you're thinking of undertaking, shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you. You can send it to info@adamscougall.com, or you can just PM me, private message me, and I'll come back to you within 24 hours, business or next business day. If you missed today's show, this is a new thing. I am going to try a watch party tomorrow morning. That's Saturday the 30th at 9 a.m. And we will be replaying today's session with my very special guest who I'll announce shortly. And we'll have a watch party. So that's all new to me. So I'm just going to test that out. But anyway, to cut to the chase, I've got a very special guest and someone I've known for quite some time. I think I know exactly. Don't tell me it's 20 years. Today's guest is the wonderful Philippe Flatt from Image Technique. How are you, Philippe?
I'm very well, Adam, and thank you very much for inviting me for Wine and Design. This is a live streaming. This is a first for me, so I've really hit the big time. I'm not sure where to go from here, but this is great. So thank you very much.
I don't know about the big time. Have you got a drink handy there?
I do. Look, it is going to be called Beer and Design from this end, if that's okay. So I've got a Dutch lager, if that's all right.
A Dutch lager, fantastic. Well, I had Bill do a gym on a couple of weeks back, and he had a beer, so I guess that's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So, Philippe, I was just thinking, I believe that it was 1999 that I stepped foot in your door and asked you for a room to rent.
That's correct.
Would that be correct?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
20 years ago.
Yes, that was. That's a long time.
Yeah. And neither of us have aged today. We haven't changed at all.
No.
I think it was even about this time, sort of 20 years ago, that I actually moved in. So I know you very well, and I also know you for your vast talent, especially that with photography. So I don't know, just tell me a little bit about you and tell me about your business, Image Technique. How did that come about?
Look, Image Technique was born 11 years ago. But the name is about 13 or 14 years old when I was working in desktop publishing. So I was working in post-production, so I wasn't quite sure which direction I was going to take. Look, I started Image Technique mainly for selfish reasons. My default in life is fun, happy, enjoying myself, and I wanted a work environment, I guess, that reflected that and that I could create. And that's why I decided to start working for myself. I had been working for another couple of studios for a few years. So it's been 11 years, yeah.
It's been 11 years of you being on your own, but isn't it correct, Philippe, that you were working, I think, with other organisations? So was that prior to you just purely doing Image Technique?
Yes, I was working
completely?
For others. Yeah, I worked. I had managed a glamour studio in we're going back, I think, about 2001 now, and I'd worked for a very good family and baby and family studio as well, before that. So, and even before that, if we go back to the 90s, I was photographing for hair salons, shooting film. Yeah.
Right. What do you consider to be a glamour salon? I'm trying to think. What's a glamour salon?
The glamour studio. Remember Star Shots?
Glamour studio.
I managed.
That's right.
I managed the Star Shots in 2001.
Star Shots. That's kind of that 90s thing that everybody was doing, where you get teased up to the nines and then you get your photos done that way. I remember Star Shots. Actually, I remember that now.
What I do, yeah. This is where you are completely transformed into something different, whereas my approach is actually a little bit to get to represent you at your best rather than change who you are.
Okay, fabulous. Well, what we've got today is some really cool images, and what I'm going to do is just hopefully add this to our broadcast because we've got some really cool images, Philippe, that you've shared with me. So that's looking pretty good. But yeah, you've got a really good body of work, and just from seeing what you've done, you know, for the last 20 years. I mean, you've been photographing in my mind for that whole time. I know you've been photographing since you were very young, but since you've established Image Technique, what I like, Philippe, about your work is that there's a lot of diversity there in terms of, you know, you've got your professional stuff for corporate. You've got a lot of the really lovely family stuff. You've done stuff for me as well, which we'll talk about shortly. You've also, I think you've got also your other sort of personal side of things, which is a little bit looser and freer, and I guess it's a holistic sort of expression of you as a person. But if I had to ask you a question before we kick off with the slides, is there a common sort of thread with the type of person that comes to you? I mean, so you're a photographer. Would you say is it mostly? Actually, I'll let you speak because I know it's corporate, it's personal, it's all sorts of things. So, but is there a common thread with somebody sort of saying, "I've called you because of this reason," whether it's website or other, or?
Yeah, look, it is generally new clients that haven't heard of me before. They see the photos on the website, so it's a particular style. It is a little bit, particularly the newborn and baby and children's photography is quite different to some of the stuff that's out there. But I think the common thread is that I'm here to tell their story, not mine. So they're not overly branded. You know, it's about capturing who people really are rather than creating my look for them. So I think that's the common thread is that people want photos that show the relationship, you know, between each other. Yeah, I can just see someone said hello, hi.
Yeah, this is Zoe. She's saying, hey, Adam and Philippe.
Yeah,
hi, Zoe. How you doing? I think we've also got Rachel on there as well as Zoe.
Hi.
So, hey, Rachel. Yeah. Rachel's from the US in San Diego. That's really important, though, isn't it, Philippe? I mean, you've got to really. I mean, it's the same thing for a designer. We're all creatives, and we get given a situation that we really need to expand upon and develop and capture the insides of whoever's coming to us, to whether it's their interiors that need to be beautified or they've got, you know, their beautiful family newborn that they really want to capture that moment. I mean, for you, I think, Philippe, would be really critical to be able to capture that moment because that photo is never going to disappear, is it? It's going to be out there forever.
Well, that
exactly. Moment, you can't get it back.
No, and the word you've used, that moment, is really integral to what I do because a lot of photographers can be fixated on getting the shot. You know, they've got a shot in mind, so they want to create that. You know, you bring families and kids into the equation, and things don't go to plan. So, you know, and what you have to do is create an environment where some really interesting and really emotive moments are going to unfold. And happen, you know, so they'll be really unexpected. So you've got to be ready for that and seize that opportunity. So that's what it is. It's about getting that moment, and it really is a lot of improvisation sometimes in the studio when it comes to families and kids.
How do you calm everybody down, I guess, Philippe? I mean, you've got a newborn baby, you got, you know, a mum and dad, maybe it's their first child, I don't know, but
yes, yeah,
how do you sort of calm them all, and especially really, really young children, babies? Do you have a technique?
Yes. Look, it's a technique that changes throughout. I think it's reassuring people that it's okay. Things don't necessarily. It's not always going to be easy, but that doesn't matter. It's okay. You know, people say, "Oh, sorry about this." You know, newborn just threw up. Or did whatever in the studio. I said, that's fine. It's totally fine. You can't expect anything else, you know? So just reassuring people, keeping a cool head, directing everything, making it enjoyable for them. And they you know, people really appreciate when you put a lot of time and effort. They come along for the ride, you know? So I think that's what it is. Or if you've got a toddler that is just going crazy, you know, create a game, get them interested, interact, give people a bit of breathing space sometimes, and everything will unfold. It will, because we're all creating this together. So, the families and me, we're doing it together. So, things pretty much always work out. Yeah.
Cool. We've got some lovely photos here to show people. Thank you for that. I'm just thinking, do we want to kick off with some of these slides? I mean, the first one here is,
well,
it's a bit of a...
It's about our first project together, which I think is a good starting point. Yeah.
Oops, I've gone the wrong way. Here we go. This is quite, this is, Philippe, quite fun. Sometimes I forget about this because it was so long ago. I mean, we did this. We need to explain to people, I guess, what it is that we're looking at. I guess who's jumped on? Hi, Anne.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is Anne's apartment we're looking at.
Exactly. You rang me up and said, look, I'm doing an interior. I'm doing some styling for a client in Breakfast Point, and I want to create some artwork out of some flowers. And you went to the markets and bought these flowers, and you arrived at my studio with them in the morning. And I went, because I'd never photographed flowers before. I said, yeah, this is something I'd really be interested in trying it. And you explained, that you had colour and a theme with some of the, I think I remember the rug that you'd chosen had that sort of purple in it, and some of the other colours that were there. And then you plopped the flowers there, and you left me to my own devices for the morning, a Saturday morning when I didn't have any families booked in. And wow, this was a really enjoyable project. And flowers are not very forgiving when you start introducing studio lights. They're very, very, every nuance and subtle change that you make with the lighting is quite drastic. That's why they teach flower arranging in photography courses sometimes. So this was a real exploration for me. But something that I really enjoyed, yeah.
That's right. I mean, this is, if anybody wants to know the details, this is the very first job that I ever had, at the very first interior styling job it was. But it was a really fun one, and it was a bit of a risk because I did pick up these flowers, I remember, took them to you, and it was kind of like, well, do we want to give this a go? And then you came back to me in a couple of days, trying to remember, but with these really cool sort of, you blackened the background, and I'm pretty sure, didn't you colour change one of I adjusted, you colour changed the middle one.
I adjusted the hue, so it's very slight adjustment. So it's the hue. So it wasn't actually a colour change. It's just sort of adjusting the hue. The background was already sort of dark. I used a sort of grey and a black background for the different flowers, but it was using the lighting to create texture and depth. So having the lighting come through the flowers, that was the sort of challenge, and how to make it look three-dimensional.
Yeah, I think you did an amazing job, Philippe, and I know that Anne still has those there today. They haven't moved since 2010. This is back in 2010. Anne's just saying, Philippe, she loves her photos. I remember that experience in your studio. It was so much fun. So
I'm glad to do.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much.
She's jumped on just at the right day because we're talking all about it. Yeah. So that was cool. And that's the other thing, is it's really great for, someone like me to be working with someone like you, because we can knock ideas around, and photography is such a special thing. You can be so creative. But this one here, Philippe,
I can say, okay. Yep.
Yeah, is something different altogether, obviously.
This is I guess is one of the examples of my newborn photography. How would I describe it? Well, it's definitely a flower pot and basket free zone. There's not a lot of pink fluffy things going on with a newborn photography. So it's very simple. A lot of the photos are about the connection that a parent has with their child. It's not really, it's not overstyled. I guess, and as the babies get older, it's really showing the sort of their little personalities, and using the lighting once again to sort of create something that looks very nice. Yeah. So,
do you have a certain approach? I mean, how old would this child have been?
4 weeks, 3-4 weeks.
4 weeks. Do you have a specific thing in your mind when you're photographing a newborn baby about how is there something you want to capture? Is it just the moment, however that evolves, or?
It's very, there is a style with the lighting, and there's an approach that I use, but it varies because they're the boss. Those babies are the boss. You have to go with what, when they're very sensory, they're very sensory about what's happening around them. So, especially because I'm usually seeing them from over 3 weeks as opposed to the first couple of weeks. So you've just got to go along with what they're comfortable with. So you might have a shot in mind and it's just not working at the moment. They're not comfortable. So you improvise and you move on to the next thing, and then maybe you come back to that. So it can be a 2 or 3 hour session to get a collection of really nice photos. But the parents are very much involved. As I said, I don't use props and baskets and that. So it's just sort of trying to use every situation to get some sort of photograph. If they're falling asleep in the parent's arms, over the shoulder, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So it feels quite organic, Philippe, and I'm imagining, yeah. I mean, we've got that sort of, was it Anne Geddes that had kids in huge baskets of flowers?
And as credit to her, she did it very well. But, I guess when a style becomes copied by a lot of people, it tends to become a little bit of a, I don't know, if a baby grows up and sees themselves in their parents' arms, I think it's going to be more meaningful to them to look back. Because this is what the photos are for. It's great to look at them now, but wow, they become more valuable as they get older. 20 to 30, 40 years time, the photos are priceless.
I think too, Philippe, isn't it? It's good to just not have too much confusion and a whole lot of other drama happening. I mean, I'm just thinking, you've explained that to me really well, is that, we don't necessarily need to have a whole lot of props and smoke and mirrors everywhere to sort of overcomplicate something, which, as you said, when you look back on it, it's going to be much more pleasing and probably, would you say, more timeless.
Exactly.
If you've got simple black and white than the other. So you do a lot of newborn, don't you? A lot of newborn kids.
Yes, a lot of babies. Yeah, babies and kids.
Can I just flick through because we've got a few slides here. I mean, here's another example.
This is an example. This is just an example of it's about the connection between parent and child rather than anything else. That's all. Just getting that moment.
Do you have clients that want you to give them specific angles, like I want this shot, or do you kind of say
a few, and that's important. I'm really open to taking photos that people want me to. A few people have a shot in mind and they think, wow, I've seen this is really good, let's do this. And then what I do is, rather than copy that, I thought, okay, let's make it our own. So we'll build on that theme that you like and make it yours, and I think it's important to let people have a bit of creative input because things are more meaningful for them, and you never know what you're gonna, I could take a photo I've never taken before, and as a photographer, that's what I want to do. I want to take something I haven't photographed before. Is interesting for me. I'm not too hell bent on, okay, it's got to be this style or it's got to be this, or I don't do that. It's like the photos, they're going to be in their living room, not mine. So it's all for the client.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you got some beautiful images here too. I mean, the way that I think I call it saturated color, Philippe. I think that this is the one thing I think you do brilliantly well, and you play with color or not a lot. Generally, I think you experiment as well.
Well, it's interesting. This is all of this sort of color and tone is purely created by the lighting. There's virtually no post-production in that shot. So that was a 3-year-old toddler who was running around the studio, very active, and his little brother in newborn shoot had fallen asleep on mum's shoulder. And I said, come and listen to him breathing, So the lighting really created that sort of look, very soft shadows, very, very subtle sort of shadows and created from the lighting. Yeah.
And I also love, Philippe, do you have to change? I mean, she's got a beautiful sort of navy. I mean, they've got beautiful chocolatey, beautiful skin, these people. And that's always lovely. I mean, the colorways that you can play with that soft sort of cocoa really beautiful deep blues, and then you've got a background. Do you change up the background digitally, or do you have to literally pull down?
Never.
No.
I never change the background. Well, when I say change, I never change the replace the background with another color. I may adjust the tone slightly, but in a shot like that, no, that is purely exactly. So I would have thought that sort of dark chocolate added a bit of warmth to the whole thing. Yeah, so
it's very considered, Philippe. Yeah, the dark chocolate, the skin tone, the flash of white for brightness, and then that really deep sort of navy is lovely. So is there a reason you don't do it digitally? I mean, isn't it sort of quite time consuming to
No,
pull it back up and down?
It only takes a moment to change the background. It's actually much quicker to get things right in camera than it is to do it in post. Yeah, and I guess, back in the days when I was shooting film, that's what you had to do. You had to get it right in camera. Yeah. So it's actually much faster to get things looking at least as close as you can in the shot and do little post-production.
Right, beautiful. This is a cutie. Can you see that one?
Yeah, look, his hair was I was so amazed by his hair that I got the studio lights sort of to go through and show the texture. I think it's sort of zoomed in a little bit so you can't see all his curly hair, but yeah, that's an example of I guess you'd call that quite a traditional type of kids photo, just looking at the camera sort of, but sometimes that's all you need. You don't need anything else, I think.
That one to me, Philippe, is really, how you're talking about these pictures, hopefully framed beautifully, which I know you also do is beautiful framing, but this is something I can imagine being my 21st birthday and, here's have a look at Johnny or whatever the child's name is, and just the look that you've captured in his face is so cute and timeless. And I think you're right. It's so enjoyable to look at something that's really, it's a black and white, it's considered, and you've just captured that, I don't know, the light in the eyes, Philippe. You seem to be able to capture that expression in the eyes.
It's interesting because it's quite difficult with then now you can see his curls. Yeah, with a moving subject, they're moving around. It looks like quite a still photo, but actually there's actually a lot of movement. So I've got the camera in one hand, I've got the light on one hand, I'm on the floor, we're moving around. So it's a bit deceiving actually. What's happening behind the scenes is quite frantic.
So there's a lot. He's moving around, and you're sort of taking that quick snap. He looks very still.
Yeah.
This is cute. Taking a while to pop up. Can you see that?
Once again, that's just about the moment. Two siblings who are playing together, and just you really need to be interactive. When you're doing kids and create. You can't just sort of expect that they're going to do what you want to do. So you need to create games, let their imagination run around a little bit.
When you say create games, Philippe, do you have to kind of almost help them to think that they're not in a session, so to get them off just sitting there and feeling uncomfortable?
Precisely.
So what's an example, say, with these kids? What would you kind of do? Like,
oh, look, it's just about, I think I might have asked them to tell a secret first or something, anything, nothing to do with photos, basically. We could be throwing a ball. I could be, seeing if I can get them to throw the ball and it might hit me in the face and they laugh at that. So I'll photograph their reaction to things. And
do you take a lot of photographs, Philippe? Do you snap? Or do you kind of just...
No. If I think something's happening, I may get 100, 150 shots out of a session, yeah.
Right.
So.
Again, like, this is where I think just the colour and it's catching up here, but the backdrop and just the colour palette is very... I say to people, Philippe, that I think it's great if you can start with a piece of art and then build a colour scheme around that when you talk about interiors. But if I had that photograph there and I was a bit miffed and I thought, I really love my daughter's, the hair, and then the background is that lovely sort of almost gunmetal-y I don't know, deep charcoal, and then you've got the colour in her top, and you could almost sort of take a colour scheme from that. Who is this young girl?
She was part of a kids modelling agency that I photograph for, so I might get up to 8 kids in one day and have about 20 minutes with them, so it's got to happen really quickly. So what I did with that shot is pretty much how it was shot in camera, but you've noted about the colour. I actually cooled the charcoal down just a little bit, just a little slider, just cooled the colour temperature down a bit, and it just gave that hint of blue. I don't know if it's looking like that on your screen, but it's just a slightly cool.
The greeny sort of.
And
it's a nice colour.
It just made the difference, yeah.
And again, a beautiful skin tone. So Zoe's just saying that she thinks it's a super cute shot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, really cool and very versatile. I mean, I think definitely what you're saying, Philippe, about just capturing that moment. I mean, I could imagine a lot of this doesn't feel contrived at all. That's what I like about it. It feels very natural and just sort of snapped when you're not expecting it. This is a little bit more moody. It's very close, but
sure.
This shot.
Yeah, this is an example. That's a mum brought her 16-year-old son into the studio, and we did mother and son shots. She said, "Look, I want a photo of my son, but I want something that I can put up on the wall. I've got a lot of interesting art and that sort of thing." So I just sort of set up some lights. It's sort of like backlighting and side lighting, and just had him sort of looking at his mum, basically. They were interacting with each other, and sometimes they were laughing with each other. So I was just taking photos of him interacting with his mum, and we came up with this one. Yeah. And it was printed on a I think she got a canvas or something for her living room. Yeah.
So was this going to be set up as sort of a gallery with other pieces? So it wasn't just an obvious, here's a picture of my son. It's just sort of melding in with some other art.
With some art that she had up there, yeah. And
so that's good. I mean, do you like that creative side of it, Philippe, in terms of that it's not just a bog standard, sit my family down and get some nice snaps?
Yeah, it is nice when someone sort of gives you a little bit of latitude to sort of create something that, Oh,
what about this? What about this good-looking gentleman? Who's this guy? Who's this dude?
Look, this is actually an example of where you can manipulate the colour of the background a little bit. You know Roz from Your Colours and Style.
I was just going to bring her up.
Yeah. So do you use your colour palette for when you go shopping for clothes?
I think we should talk, Roz. We haven't got much time, believe it or not. We're running out of time.
Look, this is about using the nuances, and they're quite soft pastel colours. This is using the nuances of soft pastels to, I guess, create, something that for branding, let's say, so when someone wants a corporate shot or a lifestyle shot or a personal branding shot, just thinking about the colours a little bit more carefully. And so that's what an example is. I've shown the sort of the blue, the soft mint, and the pale mauve background, how that looks, but with cream coloured clothing in front of that.
I think if you don't mind, Philippe, if you've got a couple of minutes, because we don't have to do a hard stop, I think this is really, let's just talk about this for a second, because I've had a colour consultation with, her name is Roz Holden.
Roz Holden,
and you know Roz, and I can't remember the name of the company. It's Your Colours and Style. Roz can probably if she sees this, can type it in. But I was told not to wear any black.
Yeah.
And I still wear it. But this is an example of, and this is why I think, Philippe, you really have that eye for colour and the consideration. And when you did this shoot, and you asked, I think you did this on social media, didn't you? You said on Instagram, which do you prefer, the soft blue, the mint, or the... Actually, I don't know which one I prefer. I like them all.
Yeah, I think the mint is the best one.
The mint's good, isn't it? No, I think you're right about the mint.
Yeah.
But the whole idea with the colour, which you've done really well here, is that we should really probably tone back on the sharp, dark colours and go with what Roz calls your colours, which are these more neutrals, muted. And you can tell, especially with you got is it a cream shirt, not a white shirt?
Yes. Yeah. It
does look very nice. Then a very heavy, dark colour, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It really works.
Again, sorry, Philippe. Is this again a different backdrop pulled down?
No,
or post-production?
This is post-production because I'm not wearing any. It's actually a blue background. So the background on the left, which is the blue background, because I'm not wearing any blue, I was very able to it can easily change the hue of the background with a sliding control, just as an example. Yeah. So I just selected
something
blue.
to consider, I think, Philippe. Like if you are doing it doesn't have to be a straightforward corporate shot in an office, but if you want to do a corporate, or you're in a profession where you aren't so strict in terms of I need to look like a banker, if you want to have a very natural look that with support in terms of the colour, I mean, this is showing how you can really do that well. You've done this really well here with those different options, but that's fabulous. I'm just thinking, is this our last shot?
I guess. Oh, look, we
last one.
Yeah. This was for King Furniture. King Living. Yeah, I photographed I think Natalie is in marketing, and I photographed the designers and of King Furniture. So this was another just example of some of the work that I can do. They needed some promotional shots. Yeah.
And again, the colour, Philippe, with the fabric. I mean, who's doing the styling there in terms of? Are you getting involved in that?
You are. It's a collaboration, but they had a very specific brief. So this is an example of where they had a specific brief of lighting, color, look, feel to, in keeping with their brand. And then basically it's up to me to, create what they want. Yeah.
Is this on location, Philippe, or in your studio?
It's at their head office. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, they're a beautiful collection.
Yeah. They some of their furniture is beautiful. So that was a shoot I really enjoyed. Yeah, it was really, really good.
That's a beautiful collection of photographs that we've looked at.
Thank you. Half an hour goes quickly, doesn't it?
It goes quickly. I knew we'd skim through these really quickly, and we had our questions there. And if we have time, we'll ask this and ask that. But thank you, Philippe, for jumping on.
Thank you very much.
I think your work is absolutely beautiful. But how do people contact you if they want to have some of this fabulousness in their lives? Get some beautiful photographs done. Photographs.
Yeah, imagetechnique.com.au.
Right, fantastic. And you're based in the inner west of Sydney?
Yes, Marrickville South.
Like myself, so fantastic. So if anybody would like to contact Philippe, please do. I can attest that. I've known Philippe for years and he has absolutely beautiful images. You've got a whole lot of stuff on the website that we haven't even seen today. Yeah. So we've got the link. I just want to thank you, Philippe, for coming on. What are your plans for the weekend? Have you got any shoots tomorrow, or have you got? Oh no, you've got your weekend off.
This weekend, yes. I've had 2 on, so I'm going to have 1 off because I'll be working the next 2. So yeah, recharge the batteries this weekend.
Well, cheers to you, Philippe.
Yes, thank you very much.
Cheers. I know as a photographer, you would be working weekends, but if you got this one off, cheers to you, and have a wonderful Friday night, and have a wonderful weekend. And thank you all for joining. We will see you next week. Take it easy, Philippe. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.